Assalamu alaikum. This is Abdul Wakil Nazari, and I would like to welcome you to University of Business Learners. And today we're going to talk about a very briefly on the topic of the hallmark of scientific research method. That is a topic which for a researcher or for a research student or for a scholar is very compulsory to understand about hallmark of scientific research, because it is one of the topic which can tell you about all the characteristics of research. Because when we are looking for an article, or when we are doing any research for the sake of to make it generalize, or so we have to look at these 8 characteristics. Now, what are all those 8 characteristics in which must be available inside any research article or any thesis or dissertation? These are the 8 hallmark of scientific research method. We can characteristic: purposiveness, rigor, testability, replicability, precision and confidence, objectivity and generalizability, and the last one we have parsimony itself. Okay, we've discussed one by one very briefly, just to grab an idea of these 8 characteristics. Number 1, we have purposiveness. The research has to start the research with the definite aim and purpose. Now, one thing it make it be clear that whenever we are starting a research, whenever we are doing research, so we start research with the question why. Like, why I'm conducting this research, why I'm doing this research. Because when we ask a question why, from that onward we understand that is it the need of today or not. Why I'm doing this research. So the question why, when you're able to answer why, so definitely you will get your purpose. Now, from where you get this question why? Now, many people, they are facing a problem inside their organizations. So when they're observing the problem and they get the aim of something, that yeah, there is an aim, but solving that problem which is consistent, which is going on inside the organization. Now, that problem which he or she highlighted, for that problem he or she is bringing a solution for that. So in here the aim is to bring a solution for that problem, because he identified with his or her observation. Now, another, like that is one thing, that wherever you work, you observe the things, what's going on all around you. Something bad occurred there, so you analyze it, that yeah, that is something, there is something fault and why it is happening. So now you are searching regarding that you get the aim, yeah, for that, why people doing, why people reacting. And for example, your turnover, employee turnover is increased, employees are, they were, every month employees are going, so what you do know about the reasons why they are going. Now, finding out the reasons for that, we're conducting a research. Now, for conducting a research, so definitely we are bringing a solution for that. So the point number one, every research must start with a purpose. There must be a purpose, because research tend to bring a solution for any problem. Because researcher has taught the research with the definite aims and purpose. Why he's conducting the research? What sort of solution he expecting? Now, definitely you just some sort of expect. You have to expect something. That expectations also there. Then expectation we have hypothesis are generated. Now, the purpose, somehow you don't know about the the problem where is allocated, because some people they did not see the problem where the problem is. Now for another to identify the gap, or finding out the gap, or finding out some area, that you have to research on that other people that didn't touch it. And for that we have to go for literature review. Now literature review is actually another concept for identifying the gap for your study. Find out, yeah, this place, yeah, this is a place where I have to bring, yeah, you want to aid up something. Your aim is what? Now in here your aim is that you are aiding with the existing knowledge. That's another, your aim, your purpose. Now the purpose, when the purpose is clear, when your purpose of study is clear, so then you can move on to the next rigor. Now the purpose is clear. If your purpose is clear, definitely your research would be rigor. If your purpose is not clear, there will be lack of rigorousness. It means that there must be a theoretical bound between your dependent and independent variable. Like there must be a logical bound, logically sound. You have to make sure that there is this two variable, that you are checking these two, like impact of psychological ownership on employee job satisfaction. These two dependent and independent variables should be logically connected. Like somehow you have to follow some theory, like some theories, or they follow your research, that they support your research. For example, social exchange theory, equity theory, these are the theory which support your theoretical framework, theoretical concept. Now, a good theoretical base and a sound methodology design would aid a rigor and purposive study. Methodology of your study should be clear. Where you're conducting the research, who is your target people, how you collect the data from that, what are the instruments that you use for collecting the data from that targeted people. It must be clear. When these things are clear, when your research design is clear, methodology is clear, theoretical bound is clear, so definitely logically your model having logical sound, that your research having the quality of rigorousness. Now the third point, testability. Testability, we can say the research develops a certain hypothesis. When we are in the first stage, we talk about the purpose. From that purpose, our objective and research questions is draw. Now we have draw our research questions and objective. From our research question and objective, we develop our hypothesis. You can say that psychological ownership is having positive relationship with employee job satisfaction. Next one we have, there is a positive and there is a negative relationship. Null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. You draw the two hypotheses. Now what can I say that? Now these two hypotheses that you have developed, it must be testable. Definitely for testing of these two hypotheses on two variable, definitely collect the data. You're collecting a data from who? From your target people. From that you're collecting the data from your target people, and to do some statistical tools, instrument test you run, like a regression. You just check it out, reliability. You run the regression, correlation, yeah, heteroscedasticity. You just run the tests of these different tests, but you want to check it out. Regression, you see whether having effect or not, will show the significant level or the R square. It shows you that whether they have the relationship or not. The level of significance will tell you. F test will tell you that whether this having the relationship, positive relationship or negative relationship, where it compel you, will allow you to accept or reject your alternative or null hypothesis, whatever your hypothesis is, whether you accept or reject the hypothesis. Now, different types of you can use for correlation, and you run the correlation test to see the correlation, the correlated between these two variables. For that, you run the chi test or t test, testing logically developed hypothesis to see whether or not data supported the hypothesis or developed. The data that you get from that running, like I say, normally we use Stata, SPSS, we use different statistical software we use for running our data, so that we get our result, and on the basis of our data we say whether we reject our hypothesis or we accept it. So it means that the hypothesis that we developed, it must be testable. On the basis of what we can judge, on the basis of what we can take it, we draw the result. Now, if is it the data that you go for, like definitely two variables we have, logical ownership, logic of satisfaction. On both of that, you have to develop the questionnaire. The questionnaire is one of your instruments. Now you are going to collect the data, and then you feeding it into the statistical software, and then that will run the regression, correlation, or many more tests in order to make it clear your decisions or your result, that whether you accept or reject it. Next we have replicability. Replicability, it means that, to put it differently, the result, test and hypothesis should be supported again and again, yet again, the same type of research repeated in similar circumstances. Replicability, something that if we conduct the same type of research in any other place with the same circumstances, for example, you conduct research on university, your sample, your population is university, you collect the data university in Pakistan. Now you went to Afghanistan. You conduct it again. The same, you use the same variables, same questionnaire, and the same universities. The sample is what? Universities, but the region is changed. So what the result will be there? Is it same or not? So it has the ability to replicate or not. So a good research having the ability to replicate it in any other similar circumstances, not in different circumstances. Next, precision and confidence. Precision refers to the closeness of finding the reality based on sample. It refers to degree of accuracy. Confidence we have. Actually, precision is something like a sampling. It means that the data that you have collected, or the result, the output that you make the result, but that result should be relevant to that past sample from where that you have collected the data. It means that the people should be that your instrument should measure It means your research should be supported to that people from whom you collect the data. Like it shouldn't be like this, that for example you conduct a research, you want to conduct a research at universities, but you collect the data from banks. Now how is it possible? How is it possible? How you can give your suggestions, how you can give your ideas? That is impossible. It is impossible that you give the data. Precision means the population that you have selected, universities, the sample, you have to take the sample of that universities. For example, there are 100 of universities. Your sample should be from the universities, among the universities, any 10 universities, but it should be universities. The institution should be there rather than any other place, because that should precision. Refer to confidence intervals refers to probability of our estimations are correct. We can confidence claim that 95% of time or result would be true, or only 5% chance of error. Normally we are making our confidence interval probability 95%. We say that there is a chance of 95% that what we draw probability that there is a positive relationship between dependent and independent variable. There is a positive relationship between independent and dependent variable. We are 95% sure that the result will be positive. Only 5% chances of error that we let that might be other chances of other things, other variables we have. So somehow we left in here 5%, some 10%, and for medical research we have only 1%, because we have a social studies, and so social study we have to left the 5% chances of error. Objectivity. Being a researcher, you have to be a neutral. It shouldn't be your personal interest. If your result is positive, tell the result is positive. If your result is negative, tell them your result is negative, rather than putting your own self-interest, or somehow maybe telling someone else tell you that make our result positive. That was the unethical such that will be unethical. It is against our research ethics. So they should be, the findings should, the conclusion draw to the interpretation of result data analysis should be objective. Whatever the data result is, that should be, rather than your personal interest should be kept aside. They should be based on facts and findings driven from the actual data. Shouldn't be our own objective or emotional values. Your self-interest should be kept aside, and maybe somebody else will tell you that no, because of project, they give you the project and tell you that the place and you have to bring the data, because on the best of your finding they will take an action. Maybe if your findings will, maybe you have got the negative findings there, but you draw, and based on self-interest or emotions you put it, you just conclude it positively. You bring positive results, outcomes, and they take a decision on it. So what will happen then? Definitely there will be a huge loss for them. For one person, you will do not take a grant of whole organization. Generalizability is another characteristic that your research must have the capability to generalize it. Now, this generalizability is one of that refers to scope of research, the finding of organization setting to the other settings. The more generalizable research, the greater it is useful of its value. But we cannot make every research to generalize it, because regions are change, places are change. We have different limitations, so that we cannot make it generalized. So some sort of research we can make it generalized, but that's what it will take a longer and longer time. But the concept of generalizability means that your research must be applicable or having, you know, if we take a, if you conduct the research in Europe, uh, whatever the result comes here, so it doesn't mean that the same result will be in here, same perspective of the people should be in here in Asian. So it is different in Asian, is different in Europe, because it is different. We cannot generalize the European ideology in here, we cannot generalize the Asian ideology in the European. So generalizability is a concept which is very rarely case it could be that. So we can from this only one characteristic our research, our overall research cannot be effective, but still we have our system, our research will be systematic. uh, the last one we have parsimony. uh, Whenever we are conducting a research, whenever we are writing a thesis or writing an article or thesis or making or dissertation, so it should be very simple. The wording should be simple. The structure should be simple. Or somehow some researchers, when you read out the different articles, so you will see that their theoretical, the conceptual framework or theoretical framework has completely, very complex. A loss of mediation, moderator, a loss of things, a lot of variable they have. It made just a mixture. So for sake of to make a confused, it will make a confused. Make when your readers start reading, it may confuse. Somehow they have used a very tough vocabulary, tough wording, lots of difficult sentences, or we have used in your research articles for the sake of for a reader. It's so difficult to read it out. So being a researcher or being an article, being a researcher, whenever you are writing, it should be simple. Simple words should be used, simple sentence should be used. But also you are writing for the reader, so you have to write on the reader perspective rather than your own perspective. Like 2 or 3 variables change, like somehow. Like in here, I give an example that 2 or 3 variables change 45%. Preferable rather than 10 variables increase 48 change in R square. We look at our we say R square, R square, the change in or independent variables we have. So like for example, if we are dependent variable, like the relationship with an R square is a 40. By introducing 2 variables, 45% changes occurs, and so rather than using 10 variables, but only from 45 to 48, only 3% increase. So 3% increase will not make a huge matter, making for complexity too much. Rather than too much variables to make a mixture, so I'll make it simple and to the point, and that 45%. And if 3 variables change 45%, so that's enough. Thank you for your watching. I hope you learned that the hallmark of scientific research. If there is any improvement needed, so kindly share your comments. Your feedbacks will be highly appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe my channel. Thanks a lot.